So the exhibition is called Love Italian Style, and it's running at the Italian Cultural Institute here in Dublin until Friday 22nd of May. It really looks at changing ideas about love and marriage in Italy roughly between the end of the Second World War and the early 70s, but focusing on the economic miracle period of the late 50s and early 60s, because that's when Italian society was really transformed quite rapidly by migration, urbanisation and the rise of mass culture. And what we see in those years is the family is being transformed by these changes, and also new ideas about love and marriage are becoming more widespread, particularly with the rise of magazines, television and cinema. So the idea that love should always be linked to marriage is becoming particularly widespread in these years. It's becoming a much more concrete expectation. So that's the kind of general social backdrop to the exhibition. What I've done here is I've used images from popular magazines and I've used both images from the love stories in the magazines, these illustrated love stories, advice columns, and also extracts from diaries and memoirs to give you a sense of how ordinary people experienced all these changes. The exhibition arises from the book that I'm writing at the moment, which is called Love, Honour and Jealousy, Redefining Marriage in Post-War Italy. And the argument of the book really is that love and marriage mattered to how people were experiencing this changing society, and also to broader national debates about how Italy was changing. While we see a broad change from marriage based on, say, family alliances and economic concerns to one where marriage is more closely linked to love, it's not a particularly easy transition. And that's something that the exhibition tries to bring out as well. Young people in these years they're very much negotiating the different influences that they're coming across, whether it's, say, family traditions or kind of new ideas that they're picking up from the mass media or religion and so on. So it's very much what we see in sources like the diaries and memoirs particularly are that people are very much kind of negotiating these changes in their own lives. So, for example, one of the advice columns in one of the magazines that I use is from a girl who wrote in 1955, and she had the dilemma that she was torn between two men, one of whom was a very poor labourer, and the other one was a much better economic prospect. He worked in a goldsmith's shop, which was obviously a more secure job at that stage, and she wrote in saying, "I really don't know who to choose. I love the labourer, but he doesn't even have the price of a cinema ticket," or something like that, while the other one I know is a much more secure bet. So she said, like, what should I do? I feel that if I'll die if I choose the labourer, but I know the other one's a better prospect. And the answer she got was kind of glib. The agony aunt said, well, obviously you should choose the labourer unless you want to die. So the idea that marriage should be linked to love was quite obvious to the agony aunt, as it would be to ourselves today. But what's interesting is that it's not quite that obvious to the girl who was writing in. And I think that illustrates how people are quite torn in this period between kind of practical concerns, family concerns, and these new ideas about marriage being based on love.